This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Swarovski Optic. Thank you Sitka Gear and Swarovski Optic for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems.
All right, here we are. So, Rensmeg, what were you calling this? The Drinkin' Thinkin' podcast?
We're doing the Drinkin' Thinkin' podcast, yeah.
All right. So, well, I'm going to
boys.
start off. Well, first of all, what do we got there? What are you suckling on there, Mr. Wannop?
I am drinking Termana tequila, which is the Rocks brand of tequila as of right now.
Okay. All right.
I'm a tequila
Okay.
boy.
All right. Rensmag, what do you got?
I'm just sipping on some Grey Goose and juice.
Oh, wow. That's very sophisticated, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
You got a Bud Light going on the side there as well, buddy, or what? Just
If
wondering.
I wish. No.
One of the new cans?
Yeah, I picked up. I thought, an homage to the species. I got the Chadwick going here, so a little bit of whiskey, which, by the way, that's sold out. It's gone now, so you can't get any more. Anyone that wanted some of our single malt whiskey that we ran, it's gone now. So there's none left, except we have a few bottles left at auction for down the road.
Perfect. That just means you need to run more next time.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all
Yeah,
that you
for
need.
sure.
Bigger batch.
Yeah.
Small batch will become medium batch.
So let's start off with a little toast here. I think it's appropriate that we do a toast to the 2023 President Award winner. To you, Nolan. Congratulations, my friend, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, so there's tons of stuff we can talk about, but we just got together so we could drink and look at each other on the screen, right?
I will say that I look grayer, but I do look older and sexier in person. So
But we'll both vouch for that.
perfect.
Awesome. No, I guess the big thing tonight we wanted to, so you just got back from South Africa, and this has been 3 years in the making. You've been trying to put things together on this African hunt, and Greg's, really, I guess, in the loop on this, having hunted with the same guy that you've been hunting with in Africa there. So
Yep.
we're going to talk a little bit about your trip to Africa. So let's back it up, Nolan, and talk about why you didn't go on your trip a few years back.
Well, there was a multitude of people that decided that the world needed to shut down at that time. So this culminated right back. The original start of this trip was about 4 years ago. And like anybody that is an avid hunter and conservationist, the dream is to hunt Africa. So I sat down with my wife and we decided to make a commitment to a hunting company, PH, in South Africa, which then started the search to find somebody that would meet what I would require as a PH that I would be willing to book with. So this led to a long and arduous search, which then led to coming up with a couple of names. And the standout PH company that stood forefront in my mind was a company called Bosveld Jacobs Society. Rian Bosveld, his father is, his father's first name is skipping me right now, but he is known to be the premier jaguar hunter in the world. And by jaguar, I mean leopard. He has killed with his outfitting company in excess of 460 leopards in South Africa legally, which is the number one harvester of leopards in South Africa. Point in fact, they harvested the last legal leopard in South Africa under a permit through their society. What drew me to Rian and his company was the fact that he was an ardent supporter of conservation. And when you think about a hunting facility in South Africa, everybody's perception is fish in a barrel. Everybody's perception is a fence. You're hunting behind a fence. And the naysayers all believe that everything is left on the ground. You harvest your animal, you take the meat, you take your skins, you take your horns, you take your head, and out you go, and you're gone. Bosveld supports 3 separate orphanages in the city of Bellwater and the province of Limpopo that they are in. And then they also support a variety of other facilities and people that need to be fed. So for lack of a better word, they do a lot of good in their community, which is something that I want to support because the Wild Sheep Society, which I'm extremely passionate about, does a lot of good for their society. So that led me to booking with Bosveld. And then we had this little thing called COVID. And COVID decided to fuck anybody and everybody that wanted to do anything in their world for 3.5 years. And they still are today. There's fallout of COVID, which led to the cancellation of my first trip, which was booked, I believe, for pre-COVID. And the plan was to attend the Kamloops Sheep's function. And then we were jumping from Kamloops to Vancouver to an airport, and we were gone to South Africa. And Mr. Trump decided at that time that he was not going to permit flights from anywhere in the continental U.S. to Europe, and my flight just so happened to take me to Amsterdam. So I couldn't get to Amsterdam. I could get from Amsterdam to Johannesburg or Pretoria to the airport there, but I could no longer get there. So that was we're not going to go, which really sucked. Now, at that time, my kids were 3 and 4 years younger than what they are now. So my youngest was 6, 9, and 6, 8, 5, 8, and 12, or 5, 8, and 10, I guess. No, 5, 8, and 10. Which puts us into a position of safety for our children. And the one thing about me is that my wife and my kids are my life. So it just comes down to protecting of children. COVID was unknown at the time. There was a lot of unknowns. There was a lot of jump on the bus. There was a lot of this. And we decided at that time that we would travel to South Africa when my wife was comfortable traveling internationally. Now, we traveled to Mexico rebooking and going to South Africa. But long story short is that March 29th, my 50th birthday, we decided to say, fuck it, we're going to South Africa. So we booked that. For Rianne, he was probably thankful because we saved up a lot of money. We purchased some donated items from Bosveld, which they've been a fantastic supporter of the Wild Sheep Society. And we went to South Africa and we fucking blew it up. Like, I'm broke. I got to save for my taxidermy bill now.
Awesome. Okay, so Greg, you've done it, you've seen it, you've ticked that box. I'm totally out of the loop on this. So talk me through it. So I guess the biggest thing for you is you spent 2 weeks there, so there's lots to talk about. But what are the big ones? What stands out about Africa that I kind of know where this is going, but I'll tee you up for it. So what was kind of the highlight for you over there?
For me or for Greg?
We've kind of heard enough from Rensbag over the years, so I'd rather hear from you. But I'd be curious to hear, and I want Greg to talk on this too, because I'd love to hear his perspective, and if you guys have the same perspective or how that is. But I'd love to hear from you, Nolan.
Okay, so the number one thing about me that I want to say is I'm all about my kids. So there was a lot of dreams fulfilled on this trip. There was a lot of exploring who I am as a person, pushing limits. There was a lot of that. So last year, I believe it was last year, Bosveld made a couple of pretty significant donations to the society. He donated a double sable trip for the Northern, and Rianne donated a Cape Buffalo to the Kamloops auction. So we weren't having in-person meetings. And my dream hunt has always been a Cape Buffalo. I always thought that would be out of the realm of what I can actually afford to do. So the donation that was made by Rianne was something that was my dream, was to be able to hunt a Cape Buffalo in Africa. So I was lucky enough to win that auction at what I'm going to say is a significant discount. So I believe I paid um, the value of that trip in Canadian dollars as to what the trophy fee would have been in US. So I saved about 50%. Like, this is called a spade a spade. I think I got that auction for, I believe, 10, maybe 11,000 Canadian dollars. That included the 10 days of the daily fees at the actual lodge, so that saved me 3,500 US, and then the trophy fee for a buffalo at that time I think was 10,000, so 13,500 US value plus for that hunt, and I got it for 10 grand. So it was a fantastic donation on behalf of Bosveld. And the best part of that, well, that one, to be straight up honest, is that a majority of that money went to the Wild Sheep Society, so it did help out the foundation. We had booked our hunt. Long story short, we got lots of time maybe, but I decided that I was going to hunt that buffalo with a bow. So it never crossed my mind. I blew my shoulder out a couple of years ago throwing my boy in the pool, and I tore 3 of the 4 rotator cuffs off my shoulder. I tore my bicep off, and I tore my pec muscles off my shoulder. So a surgery, and 7 anchors later, I was back to what was classified as somewhat normal. But I hadn't pulled a bow, and I was shooting Vegas 3-spot in nationals in the hunter category, and I was a ranked archer, and I was doing quite well in the archery world, but I hadn't pulled my bow in 2.5 years. So I decided that I was going to hunt this Cape Buffalo with my bow 6 weeks before I decided to go. So I call up Rian and I said, this is what I want to do. He calls me nuts and a couple of other things. And says, this is what I need. So I got an 80-pound bow, because my wife won't let me buy a heavier bow to just go and hunt a buffalo. I don't know why, but if I'm going to hunt the world's dangerous animal with a bow, I should have a heavier bow. So I go with a 70-pound bow, and I get grizzly sticks out of Oregon, and I get a 315 grain 2-blade broadhead and an FOC arrow with a total weight of 952 grains, plus or minus 2 grains. And I start flinging arrows, and I'm throwing arrows at 20 yards, and I decide that I got to go to the range and throw them at least 40 and 50, and I can't even shoot 60 with my bow because the arrows are so heavy that my sight won't allow it to go up where I'm hitting my sight with my arrows before they actually launch. So long story short, we get the bow dialed, we get everything said and done, we fly to Africa, and my distance is 42 yards. That's the maximum distance I can shoot a buffalo with my bow. And Rianne sends me a video of a hunter from 2 years previous that shot a buffalo at 17 yards with his bow. So now, not only do I want to harvest my buffalo with a bow, but I want it to be closer than 17 yards because somebody's done it at 17 yards. That's the closest they've shot it at. So that's just the type of guy I am. Is if you tell me that 17 is the closest, I want it at 16 or closer. So we get there, we do everything we need to do the day we get there, which was April 1, and we just go for a drive. We're just going to go check out the facility and see what it's about. So my daughter, Brooklyn, is 9, and my son Logan is 12, and my oldest daughter Chloe is 14, which Chloe you guys met at the Kamloops function. We brought a sitter with us so that I knew that it should be a couple 3 days to get a buffalo with a bow. That's what I thought, right? 3 days is lots of time to get a buffalo with a bow in South Africa in a spot and stock situation. And that proved to be fucking out the window because it didn't happen in 3 days. So my daughter is out driving around, and she comes across and she comes that night, she comes running in and she sends me a picture of a buffalo, and she says, Dad, I found your buffalo. And she shows me a picture of a buffalo, and it was probably the most beautiful buffalo I've ever seen. And Greg, I showed you that picture there the other night. It turns out to be an old blind in one eye buffalo that had everything that a guy could ever dream of for a buffalo. It had heavy bosses, it had deep curls, it came up, it had mass. A sheep hunter would just drop his drawers to hunt that animal, if it was a sheep. But it was a buffalo. So we decided we're going to hunt that animal. The next morning we go out, and we have the PH, the tracker, which Greg knows both of these guys, Drian and I can't remember the tracker's name. Joshua. So we go out and we're driving around, and we drive around for 3 hours before we find this buffalo. Now, we'll say this and just hit pause on the story, and let's just talk about hunting South Africa for a second. Hunting South Africa is going to happen behind a fence. It doesn't matter where you hunt in South Africa, you will be behind a fence. So that's the reality. The government does not own the animals. They do not own the land. And the reality is that when an animal has value, conservation takes a huge toehold in something. So when you talk about hunting behind a fence in South Africa, properties that we're hunting are properties that are 1,000 hectares, 2,600 acres. And if you want to know the size of 2,600 acres of land, Google 2,600 acres of land to square kilometers. You're talking 5 and 6 and 7 square kilometers. But we're also hunting properties that are 25, 30, 40, and 50,000 acres. And they are perimeter fenced. They're not cross fenced, they're perimeter fenced. There is nothing easy about spotting and stalking an animal behind a fence, regardless of what people think that it could be or can be. It is not simple. Hunting is going to be what you make it, and it's going to be what you take from it. So keep that in mind as we continue with the story. So we drove around for 3.5 hours looking for this buffalo, and we finally found it. So we then drove away from that animal. We knew the general area. It would be the same thing as if I was hunting when I hunt elk in the Kootenays or something like that. And we pursue this animal. So we get into the general vicinity where he is in about half an hour of stalking him. And we eventually find him at 75 yards from us. So again, I'm hunting with a bow. It is just after the rainy season. We're about 3 weeks after the rainy season. So there's water everywhere. It's not like, but shit is dry, and it's tinder dry. Every step you take, you're stepping on leaves, you're stepping on twigs, you're making noise, just like any other spot and stalk hunt that you're going to go on. So we eventually, it took us 45 minutes to work from 60 yards to 32 yards. And the buffalo had bedded down, and we're sitting 32 yards from this buffalo that is blind in one eye, which we thought, okay, maybe it's, who knows, is it going to be more leery? Is it going to be more difficult? Is it going to be easier to stalk because it's blind? We had no idea of what to expect or what we're going to come across. But anyways, an hour and a half later, the PH says to me basically, in the time of the hour and a half of sitting there with him bedded, the PH says, when he stands, he should stand, he should stretch. I had a small window to snake an arrow through, and by small, I mean the window to snake the arrow through was probably a foot by a foot. And he says, well, when the buffalo stands up, he's going to stretch, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. You should have about 30 seconds to come up, come to draw, get your anchor, settle in, and set the arrow. And that never happened. That fucking buffalo stood up after an hour and a half, and he was walking before his front feet were off the ground. So that ended the first morning stalk until, as we're slowly trying to work our way out, we decide, well, shit, he just fed out into a field. Maybe we can make another play. So we make another play on the buffalo, and we get a bunch of stuff between us and him, and he's feeding from right to left. Now, his blind eye is his right eye. The wind is in our face, so as any archer knows, you want wind in your face when you're putting on a stalk. So we actually had a pretty decent setup at that time. So we work our way up, and we get set up where we have a little bit of stuff between us and him, and we have him at 13 yards. So range him, 13 yards, dial the bow to 20, because that's the closest that I can dial that bow of mine in. And we sit there and we wait. So the buffalo fed from right to left. And I had a clear shooting lane on a quartering away shot, which is not an ideal shot on a buffalo for a quartering shot. You want a quartering two, you want a side, or you want a straight on shot with a buffalo with a bow. So we passed on the quartering away shot, and we waited, hoping that he would come broadside or come on. So he eventually decided to come on, and we had him facing me directly at 22 yards. And he was looking at us, feeding, head down. Didn't know that we were there. But I had a bush between me and him. So I didn't have a clear shot. Now, the arrow setup I was shooting has been dubbed as 375 of the archery world. It'll push through shit. But I wasn't going to take that risk. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is just fucking fish in a barrel. This is, an animal that should have a tag in its ear, and it should, like, I'm going to go and kill a buffalo with a bow day one as a spot and stock in South Africa, and it's pretty anticlimactic. Not to be the case, I will say that. He feeds to 17 yards, and that bush is still in my way. So I'm talking to my PH, Brianne, and I said, well, why don't I come up to my knees, and I'm going to lean into you, and I'll come to full draw, and if I can sneak my way around that bush, that I'm not shooting through the bush, I'm shooting through some leaves, and I can send that arrow. Well, he decides, okay. So we do that. I come to draw, I sit up, and I lean to the right, and I'm kind of propped on him because it's 17 yards. I have a Cape buffalo feeding towards me, and the Cape buffalo is the number one killer of hunters. It's not the hippo. The hippo is the number one killer of people in South Africa. The number one killer of stupid fucking bow hunters is the Cape buffalo. And that's because you have to be ready to follow it up. You are in its zone. So I'm at full draw. I'm leaning on my PH. My PH is leaning back against me. He's got the gun in a ready position that if I send this arrow, that buffalo is either coming to me at 17 yards, which is less than 2 seconds, or he's going to stop, turn, and burn and go the other direction. In the process of leaning and drawing and sitting up, he catches the movement. The buffalo completely just fucks off. He's gone. And that was the start of hell. Because that buffalo at 17 yards was burnt into my brain of this is what it is. And that buffalo outwitted me every step, every turn, every stalk, every shot opportunity, everything for 11 days. That one buffalo that my daughter took a picture of that said, oh, he's just sitting here. Go take a look at him. He's pretty, Daddy. That night we had an opportunity. We had a spot and stalk. And we were the second hunters at that with Bosveld. We were the first hunters of the year at that facility. So that farm hadn't seen hunters in 5 months. And that buffalo had seen people, but not hunters. The buffalo had been hunted before. Obviously not successfully because it was still alive. So that night we put another stalk on that animal. And it took us for a tour of that 2,200 acres at a run with us running behind it. And eventually that buffalo took us through some of the thickest shit I've ever hunted on Vancouver Island, which is where I'm from. So you know Chalel on Vancouver Island. Think the Mompati trees. And he went through an opening, and that buffalo cut back on his tracks, and he sat 25 yards from the opening that he went into this field. And about 5 minutes is what we figured we were behind him. We come busting out of those trees in that opening, and that buffalo gave us a woof. It gave us a step, and then that buffalo was gone. And that buffalo, I swear to God, changed that second to somebody's trying to kill me. So now he went from, if you want to call it, somebody relaxed on a field to you're never going to see me again. This was a stone sheep that just got busted on a hard stalk that is going 5 miles away. So one thing about me is I have really, really bad OCD. And I have a thing for numbers. I hate odd numbers. As in, like, if you come on my boat and you fish, if you fish an odd number on a downrigger, you're not allowed to fish on my boat. So I have a 6-arrow quiver on my bow. And I shoot a dual pin because a single pin is a single pin spot hog with one. I got a dual sight on one pin because one is singular, 2 sights is dual, it's plural. I can handle that. So I buy a 6-arrow sight and I have it shipped in, and I spend a lot of money for a 6-arrow sight. But the problem is that I shoot a hog father target sight on my hunting bow, and it's a really big fat knob. And that really big fat knob was pushing on an arrow, and it was pushing that arrow out of the quiver. Now, most common sense people would say, I'll just take that number 5 arrow and I'll use that to shoot. But I can't do that because I have to take the first arrow in the quiver to shoot. So that number 5 arrow was pushing out and it fell out of my quiver. So it caused a problem in my brain. And if you're OCD with something and you're OCD with numbers, this will resonate with you. So I decided that I had a different set screw in my archery kit that I could change out that bull knob. So I go back that night and I pull my sight off my bow and I change out the bull knob, and lo and behold, I don't. have that set screw. So I put my sight all back together. I put my quiver back on my bow, and I thought I tightened everything up. And somebody with OCD should know that you double, triple, quadruple, and check 8 times, because 8's my number. I have to check something 8 times to know that it's actually 100%. Why, I don't know, but I do. So I didn't. I tell my wife I checked 7 and she checked 8 and she fucked it up. But long story short is my sight, which hangs back 2 knobs, because that's an even number, from my housing. I should have checked it, and again I didn't. And I should have shot my bow that morning, and again I didn't. But anyways, you go out on morning 2, and we find that fucking buffalo, and we find him early, and now there's him and 2 buddies. He's partnered up with 2 other bulls, because it's a defense mechanism with any animal. If you have a weakness, you want to exploit something from somebody else to help your weakness. And in this instance, he decided that he would always keep those 2 buffalo on his good side, so that if they seen something on his bad side, he would just take off. So we found this buffalo 20 minutes out of camp, and about an hour after we found him, I'm 26 yards from him at full draw with what I thought was a clear sight picture. I send the arrow, and to my fucking horror, I miss. And I don't understand how I can miss at 27 yards. So one thing I did do was I decided I was going to videotape all of my hunting with a GoPro, and my wife decided she was going to spend a lot of money and buy some cameras. So she was recording everything. So I didn't believe I missed, but everybody told me I did. And of course, anybody that knows me, normally I don't miss at 27 yards. And it wasn't the first time I'm going to miss this buffalo at that range. So we go back to camp, and we decide to put everything on the computers, and we look, and I hit the only fucking tree branch in 2 miles of me and that buffalo, which was about 18 yards from that buffalo. And something didn't seem right, so we said, let's go shoot the bow. So I go shoot the bow, and at 40 yards, I'm 8 feet over the target. And again, something doesn't seem right. So I resight my bow in, but it just doesn't seem right. And I'm looking at my fucking bow, and I look at my sight, and as soon as I looked at my sight, I noticed there was 5 fucking holes hanging behind my sight. Not 2, 5. So what happened was, when my OCD kicked in and I had to change out that bull knob, I apparently never tightened it up enough, and my wife grabbed my bow and moved it, and she pushed my sight in and tightened the bull knob up, which then put my pin 3 inches closer to the riser of my bow, which caused all my arrows to shoot high. So it's my wife's fault I missed that buffalo at 22 yards, not mine.
I knew that was coming.
Exactly. So we got on him again that night. We had a shot opportunity again. This is day 2. The comfort zone with that buffalo seemed to be, if he was in 27 yards of us, the wind, the bush, everything got tight. And he needed to make a commitment of a step, and he didn't do it. Caught our wind, and he was gone. The next morning, day 3, we put a hard stock on him. He busted us, and we really laid the boots to him. And he was gone, and we didn't see that buffalo again, which really sucked, because my daughter brought me that buffalo, and that was the buffalo I really wanted to harvest with my bow. We called him One Eye, and we decided at that time, okay, so day 5 comes about, and we're there for 10 days, because we were going to go to Kruger on Greg's recommendation. So we decided, my wife wanted to do Kruger, my kids wanted to do Kruger. We didn't want to just make this a hunting trip. So day 5 in the morning, we're out. Everybody in the facility is trying to help us find this buffalo again, to put a stock on him, and we can't find him. So we get a call on the radio saying, hey, look, we know that his want is an old buffalo. They had a buffalo on the farm that was just an old bruiser. His bosses were chipped and beat up from fighting. His face, his face was just torn up and shredded and cross-shredded with scars from fighting. This buffalo was an old warrior. And that one would check the boxes of what I would want to harvest, because to me, something that is old out of the food chain is something that is a fantastic trophy, as per se. My oldest daughter, Chloe, harvested her first black impala her first animal, in fact, in South Africa, and I wasn't there with her to share in that because I was concentrating on hunting this buffalo. My son harvested his first animal in Africa, a blessed buck, and again, I wasn't there to share that with them because I was so focused on trying to get this buffalo with a bow that I kind of lost perspective a little bit of what I was there for, which was a family trip and a vacation to make memories. And I was keyholed in on my want, which was that buffalo with that bow. So that weighed a lot on my head. I talked to Amanda about that on the morning of the fifth, the night of the fourth night that we were there, and we decided that if there was an opportunity at a nice animal, that we would pursue that animal. So this particular buffalo was spotted by Hank, Brienne's brother, and he radioed our PH and said that is what he had found, and it checked our boxes and checked. So we actually said we'll go and check him out. So funny enough, we were driving to an area that he said that he was in, and we drove past this buffalo. So Amanda took some photos of it, and we had a look at this buffalo, and we decided, you know what, he would be a fantastic representation of a Cape buffalo in Africa to look at going, and a fantastic trophy, no matter how you skin it. A Cape buffalo with a bow, it doesn't matter if it's a 50-inch, a 40-inch, or a freaking 16-inch. If you harvest a Cape buffalo with a bow, it's a trophy to be proud of. So we decided we were going to make a play on this animal. So we actually drove back to camp to the exit gate because he was within a kilometer of that, and we grabbed the bow and the PH. We decided at that time grabbed the rifle, and our tracker carried a rifle with him as well, and we put on the track on this animal. So we spotted him at about 6:50 in the morning, and at about 7:45 there is a bush between me and him at 12 yards. And that's it. And the wind is hard in our face, and the buffalo is head down feeding. And when I say that the animals are head down feeding, in any animal that's head down feeding in tall grass, it makes a lot of noise. So you can get closer to them than what you would think you can get, especially with the wind coming at it. So anyways, we make a play, and we move around a bush. There's two of them. There's him and a younger bull. And the younger bull seemed to be on alert a lot more than he was. So he was feeding to the right. The younger bull comes out first, and he's at 16 yards, and the older bull comes out at 12. And he's kind of feeding away from us, and we didn't want that quartering away shot, but opportunity knocks in it. At that distance, that one it's pretty much a gimme that if we sink that arrow in, that it's going to be a kill shot on that buffalo. So we had to do a little bit of finagling in a couple of minutes, and probably 8 yards. So I got him at 24 yards, and I come to full draw, and he's quartering about 5 degrees to me. We read the range, we check the tape, and I send the arrow. And when I squeeze the trigger on the release, I don't know if it's when I squeezed it, if it was in the process of squeezing it, or if that fucking arrow was in the air. That buffalo took a step forward and turned left 80 degrees. So with archery, your whole in is going to be the only point of bleed if the barrel doesn't pass through. So that buffalo ran about 25 or 30 yards, and he turned sideways. And when he turned sideways, we seen where the fletch of the arrow. So I was shooting a heavy arrow, but it was 32 inches long. So we had what we perceived. Well, I could see just the fletch of the arrow buried against the skin. So I knew I had 29 inches of penetration. And I knew that where the arrow was, that the angle of the shot, that I would be in the vitals of the buffalo. But the fact of the matter is that the arrow, the point of impact of that arrow was further back than what anybody would want to have a shot with a rifle, let alone a bow. So earlier, to back it up, just to go where our decision was made, is that we decided that if it was perceived to be a questionable shot or a questionable impact, that I would, well, even at the first shot, it was pass the bow to the tracker and grab the rifle so that we had the rifle on hand. And that's not whiskey, that looks to be water. That's tequila, Kyle. So I passed my bow to the tracker, and I grabbed the 375 that they had given me. And I just took a look at Drianne, and I took a look at the buffalo, and I said, I'm going to shoot it. So we opened up the sticks, and that buffalo ran from 27 yards to 45 as an estimate, and squared us face on and took a step to us. So I hammered it right in the chest with the 375. And then it spun, ran away, and then came to about 90, turned around and started to come at us. So I hit him again with the 375, and he ran away and then went down. So the this the thing about me is that if I'm going to harvest an animal with a bow is a very effective tool to harvest an animal if it's done correctly. Hunting is always going to fuck with you no matter what you do, and it's going to throw everything and anything it can at you to say it's not going to be that easy. The spot and stalk on the animal was relatively easy. The wind was perfect. Everything was perfect except for that buffalo taking that step. And my attitude is ethics over ego all day long. It's just that I don't care if I successfully stalked Cape Buffalo to 12 yards, and I successfully put an arrow in a buffalo at 27 yards. That would have killed it when we did the necropsy on the animal. We skinned it, we opened it up, we pulled everything out, and the arrow was buried it was 6 inches into the lung. So it would have killed that animal if I had left it. But here, the reality is that not only am I putting the PH's life at jeopardy, I'm putting the PH's wife's, I'm putting his dogs, I'm putting everybody at a risk of potentially losing something that's important to them over, I just killed it with an arrow. And to me, ethics over ego all day long. I put an arrow in it. Did the arrow kill it? It would have. It would have made for a difficult track. It would have made for a difficult recovery. It would have made for a long recovery. And the smart thing to do was to put a bullet in that buffalo and call it done. So from the time we put an arrow into it to the time that thing was dead was less than 45 seconds. But I arrowed a bull at 27 yards. I stalked multiple Cape Buffalo, 12 yards, 27 yards, 30 yards. And I lived that dream of hunting a buffalo with a bow in South Africa in a spot and stalk scenario. And that was the highlight of my trip, outside of sharing my children's successes on animals, you know. But that didn't end the saga of One Eye. That motherfucker had to die. So, but that was my buffalo with a bow. That was my story on him.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So what's the story? Okay, so Greg, was your trip to Africa similar to that? Similar experience?
I only got to watch buffalo from a distance. I wasn't hunting them. But when Nolan told me he was going to go hunt with a bow, I think my exact words to him were, "You crazy son of a bitch." From our experience, they were always moving. They're never at a full run, but every time we seen buffalo, they were just on the move. And that big animal can cover ground quick. And I just thinking, no, not a chance would I hunt that thing with a bow. But absolutely unreal. Like that, you can't get over the people at Bowesville, Jacob. They're amazing people, amazing team they have over there.
Yeah, I agree. We hunted with the same PH, Greg and I. Drian, he's a young fella, very knowledgeable. Doted is probably one of the best buffalo bow hunters that you're going to find in South Africa, and a very good crew. They're a lot of fun. It didn't matter if you were hunting, if you were just touring. Like when we booked this hunt originally, we booked this hunt. My kids were 3 years younger, 3.5 years younger than what they are now. So my youngest was 6, and what's a 6-year-old little girl going to do in South Africa? Let alone an 8-year-old little boy that wants to shoot, but we don't know that can shoot. And I had no idea if my oldest daughter Chloe even had a desire to shoot an animal, harvest an animal. So we decided at that time that we were going to take my mother-in-law's sister Peggy with us, and she was going to come as a sitter to help. That if the kids just didn't, because we all know I go elk hunting, my kids don't want to fucking go elk hunting. They want to play video games, they want to watch TV, they want to watch a movie, they want to do what they want to do. So we extended that invite on the first trip, and because of COVID and because of all this stuff, it didn't make sense to say things have changed. My kids are now into hunting, that we're going to do this now and we're going to change it. So she was invited, so she came. So we had Hank and a couple of my kids, and they were just running around, and they were touring. They were taking photos. They were doing what they were doing. They were having fun. They were living life. So the fact is that there was very minimal revenue generated by my children being there with Peggy, and she brought a friend. But it didn't matter to them. They were showing my kids the time of their lives. Hank brought his son, um, and they treated us like family. That's the one thing that I can say is that we weren't there. We were there as a paying customer. We were there because that's their business, but we were treated like family. We were treated very, very well. We were welcomed with open arms. They catered to all of our little idiosyncrasies and what our little niche. Like I'm a tequila guy. I don't drink rum. I drink tequila, and they made sure that there was cases of tequila around that place. It was shitty Olmeca tequila, but it was fucking tequila, right? And in South Africa, if you're gonna drink tequila, well, just drink shitty Olmeca because that's all they fucking got. But it was tequila, right? And shitty tequila is better than top shelf whiskey on most instances, except for the Sheep Society whiskey, in my opinion. Um, right? But plus, I was quite a bit fatter than what I am now. So tequila, there's a diet. It's the tequila diet. It's good for you. It's healthy. There's very minimal calories in it, and speeds up your metabolism. So,
All the
but
benefits.
fantastic, yeah, fantastic hunt, fantastic trip. It made dreams come true. It it was my dream, but it turned out to be my son's dream. Like I said, my daughter Chloe harvested two. She harvested a black impala, um, and she harvested a small little tiny warthog that my wife is going to taxidermy and make her fucking desk pig. That's what she's going to do. It's going to sit on her desk and it's going to hold her pens. As to how that's going to happen, I don't know. My 9-year-old daughter. It's a heartbreaking story, but a story nonetheless. Is that she loves riding horses. Her want in Africa was to harvest a zebra. She wanted to harvest a zebra like I've never seen her so passionate about something. So we're we're there. She goes to the gun range. She picks up a 308 and a 30-06. Now Brooklyn is 5'2" and she's 70 pounds soaking wet. And that little girl picks up a 308. She shoots it a couple of times. No bubbles, no trouble. She picks up a 30-06. She shoots the 30-06 5 and 6 times. Not a problem. Like, shocked the shit out of dad because I don't shoot 30 cal guns, and like they're shooting 30 cals like they can do it no problem. Um, so after I'd harvested the buffalo, we're out about it and we're hunting, and we come across we're at a 30,000 acre property, and we come across a herd of zebra, and my daughter really wanted a zebra, so we're trucking through the bush, just me and her and the PH and the tracker, and it's typical little girl. She's got burrs on her that daddy has to pick off, and she's got ticks on her that daddy has to pick off. And we get to this little herd of buffalo, and we're in this little qualla trees there, and we're sitting there, or not buffalo, sorry, the zebra, and we're in this little copse of trees, and the zebra have no clue we're there. And there's some mares and some foals, and there's a couple of stallions that we know were there. And Drianne's talking to me, and I'm talking to Brooklyn, and I'm trying to explain to her, this is what you need to do, and this is what I want to make sure of. And we're talking through it, and we open up the sticks, we get her on the gun on the sticks, and she says she's solid. And we're waiting for the stallion to come out, and we're probably a minute or we're 2 minutes. And typical dad, I'm just rubbing her back, and I'm putting my hand on her head, and I'm trying to keep her calm. And then I just feel an energy coming out of her. And I look down, and she's sitting there, and she's sobbing. And the tears are just rolling off of her face. And I get down on a knee, and I ask her if she's okay. And she says that she's okay. She's excited. And I say, can you do this? And she says she doesn't know, but she doesn't want to let daddy down. And, as a parent to a 9-year-old child, the last thing you want your child to think is that their actions are going to let you down. And Drian looked at me, and you could almost see that he had tears in his eyes. And it was probably one of the most emotional things that I had actually experienced in South Africa, is my little 9-year-old girl sitting there bawling with tears streaming down her face, looking through a gun scope, trying to kill a zebra that she wants to kill. And we finally conceded that she wasn't going to harvest the zebra, but daddy was going to do it for her. So we harvested the zebra, which was in no way, shape, or form an animal that I would never or ever have harvested. It was just not an animal that is my thoughts of harvesting, right? And that little girl is still smiling to today that she harvested that zebra with her daddy. And it doesn't matter that She didn't squeeze that trigger. It doesn't matter that I was the one that squeezed that trigger. The fact of the matter is that the hunt, to me, isn't judged in success by the death of an animal. The hunt is judged on the experiences that you have in the moment. And she successfully stalked that animal. She successfully put that animal in the crosshairs of the gun. She didn't squeeze the trigger, but she was there when that thing was harvested, and she harvested it. And that made that probably my most successful hunt on that trip, is that I instilled a 9-year-old little girl's desire to be successful and ethics on what you can and what you can't do and what you're emotionally ready to do and what you're emotionally not ready to do. And that's my favorite memory of South Africa, is that moment right there. Maybe not for her, but for me, that was that. My son is a killing machine. He put his sights on that boy would shoot me fucking bankrupt in a matter of days in that country. I swear to God, he would bankrupt me. That boy, and I was not there with his first animal, and that galls me. I was not there for Brooklyn's. I was not there for Chloe's first animal. That galls me. But we did harvest other animals together. We had my son harvested a wildebeest. He shot two of them actually. The first one was what was perceived to be a fantastic shot. They never recovered the animal, unfortunately. They have since recovered it. Um, it was like anything you harvest in Africa, you don't harvest like you do in South America, or in North America, sorry. When you harvest an animal in Africa, everything is forward. The lungs, the heart, everything is forward. The perfect shot on an animal, any animal in South Africa, is you follow that front leg up to 1/3 of the body and you squeeze the trigger. You don't go in the crease, you don't go behind the front leg, you go straight up that front leg, you squeeze the trigger. The animal's going to be shot in the heart, top of the heart, or the lungs. They're not going to go very far. And I learned this on one eye. So they can go a long fucking way when push comes to shove, when they're not shot correctly per se. And my son shot his first blue wildebeest like he would shoot a deer. He shot it a little far back. He did get lung, but 2 days later they came across the wildebeest that he shot, and they did harvest it for us. And that was only 2 inches. And everybody thought that it was a perfect shot because it was a little bit of a quartering shot. But again, it's the animals are tough there. Cape buffalo, the adrenaline gland of a Cape buffalo is between 2 and 3 times the size it needs to be for its body. So just think human nature. You think that a man or a woman, they get an adrenaline rush, they get in an accident. You hear about these women that, their car rolls over and their baby's in it, they're in an accident, and they flip a car over. That's an adrenaline gland, the size that's equivalent or useful for their body. So put an adrenaline gland in your body 3 times the size it needs to be. What could you do? And that is the size of an adrenaline gland on a fucking Cape buffalo. To put it in perspective, that animal can be dead, no heart, and still kill you because of pure adrenaline. Grizzly bears are the same way. Their adrenaline gland are significantly larger for their body than what they need to be. Grizzly bears are known. Like, we know many stories about guides and hunters that have shot a grizz in a heart, and that grizzly still kills them before they die. So you got to be really careful about how and where you shoot an animal in South Africa in terms of what the kill zone is. There's a lot of literature online that you can find that will say this is the perfect shot. If you're looking at a rifle and you're quartering away, full frontal, a side shot, there's literature there. If you decide that you're going to want to go to South Africa to hunt, if you're going to hunt with a bow, get the data to where the shots are. If you're going to hunt with a rifle, the data is there. Be ethical on where you squeeze the trigger on that animal, because it's given its life to hang on your wall at home. You're going to eat it. Every animal we harvested in South Africa, and we harvested a fuck of a lot of them, we ate some of them all, and then we did give a lot of that meat away to the needy people. And that's a story in and of itself. I mean, we're a first world country. When you go to a third world country and you see how these people live, and you bring them food and the appreciation that these people show you just for bringing them what we take advantage of every day, it's humbling. It's humbling. It's you think about and you think about stories of and you pictures of and videos of, African women carrying buckets of water on their head. It fucking happens. It happens today in South Africa right now that for somebody to go and have drinking water, they have to walk 3 miles to a fucking river and put a bucket on their head and take it home so they can give their kids a bath or they can give their kids fresh water to drink or to cook with. It is astounding. There's no social service structure in South Africa. It is giving, and it's giving by a lot of the hunting industry is the ones that actually feed and nourish a lot of these people. I spent above and beyond by just totally taking any hunting out of the mix. I probably spent I know I spent thousands of dollars buying staples, buying rice and milk and bread and potatoes and fruit and vegetables on top of all the meat that we took to all these orphanages and all these families that needed this food. And you can feed a lot of people for a little. And it's the hunting world. It's the hunting economy that does this for these people. And you get all these fucking people in the US and all these landlubbers and all these animal lovers that say, oh, stop hunting lions. Well, you know what? That whole Cecil the Lion fiasco devalued lions in South Africa by upwards of $40,000 a lion because somebody in a fucking chair in the United States of America decides, well, that was a pretty animal to look at. Well, lions had value at one point because you could export them to the States. You could export them to Europe. You could take those animals and you could take that trophy home. Now that the United States has banned import of lions, that was 90% of people that go to South Africa to hunt are from the United States. If they can't bring in a trophy that costs them 50 grand to harvest, well, then why the fuck are they going to harvest it? So now an animal that used to generate revenue for the farmers, for animals that the lion killed, and for people and for the government, that value is gone. So now, if there's a lion that's a problem, they don't just target that lion. They target every fucking lion that's out there that's going to kill that farmer's cattle. So there's no savings grace in the United States trying to micromanage the animal population and what they think is ethically correct in South Africa. Leave that to South Africa. You just mind your P's and Q's at home. You don't want lions coming in? Don't fucking hunt lions in the United States. There ain't any. You guys hunted up to extinction, right? So leave it to the country to manage their animals.
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole that we could spend a few days
Hours
talking about. But you
Exactly.
touched on it and said the important parts there for sure. So, is there a one-eye story or something, or that's
Oh
it?
yeah.
There's nothing
Yeah.
else to talk
Oh
about,
no,
right?
no. Oh, there's lots more to talk about. I we'll get to one. I don't know how much time we got for this story or not, but you guys can edit the shit out you don't want to hear.
I think we're going two-part here.
We're gonna go two parts. So I harvested two book animals when I was there. I harvested an Inyala, which was 28. So the world record in Inyala is 34 inches. I harvested an Inyala that was just under 29, which will go SCI book. And I harvested a Klipspringer that was 4 7/8, and the world record Klipspringer is 5 3/8. So I harvested some pretty significant trophies of animals. And I will tell you that the most difficult animal to kill of everything I shot, the animal that soaked up the most amount of lead was a fucking Klipspringer. Bar none, 8-pound Klipspringer. Harvested that sucker. That we were driving around. We were at the property. You shot your bush. You didn't shoot your bush buck at it. You shot your kudu at that property. The 25,000 acres in behind the gate by the security checkpoint, the rhino checkpoint there. And we're driving around, and the one thing you learn quickly is that the PHs do not get excited. They do not get excited over seeing most animals. So when a PH gets excited, it's something special. And when a PH grows fucking wings and flies out of a truck, it's something really special. And that's what happened with Drian on this Klipspringer. We were driving out, and it was one of those situations, and everybody sees it. You drive around, and you come across a hammer whitetail, 240-inch buck, standing in the middle of a road. And you just get lucky. because you're at the right place at the right time. Well, we were driving down this one field, and how these fucking guys see what they see, I don't know, because I can't see these things at 10 yards, and they seen them at 400 yards. He sees this clip springer standing in the road, bangs on the truck, throws up his binos, and gets excited. And then he looked at it and got really, really, really excited. We drove up. We were probably 250 yards from this thing, and he just was gone. He sits in the back of the truck in this rack, 10 feet off the ground, and he's fucking gone. And I look and I see a trail of dust, and I see Drianne in the front of this dust just sprinting at this fucking thing, carrying sticks, yelling at me to let's go, let's go, let's go. So we ran probably probably closer than what I figure it was. But anyways, far enough to get me winded. He throws out the shooting sticks, throws them out, and says, shoot it. And I waddle my way up there, and I throw the gun up on the shooting sticks, and I look at him and say, what the fuck am I shooting? And he's like, that clip springer in the road. Shoot it. And I'm looking, and I'm looking through the scope, and I still can't see a fucking clip springer in the road. And he goes, there's 3 of them. So eventually I find the clip springer that he's talking about, and he says, it's big. And I'm looking, and typical Eastern or Western or whatever you want to call it, my perception of big and his perception of big are 2 different things, because you don't know what is big. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. When you're hunting, unless you've done a lot of homework, you don't know what is big. And clip springer was not on my list. Clip springer was on Amanda's list. This was the Tiny 10. This was her animal. And she had a bad experience earlier in that day with a miss or a graze, whatever you want to call it. I paid for a clip springer because we found a drop of what we thought was blood on a rock. And she was not picking up the gun anymore because the gun was out. It was not her fault. It was whatever the excuses were. So 120 yards, I finally see this clip springer, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he's nice. And he goes, nice, he's fucking world class. And you say 2 things to anybody. You say the word world class to any hunter, and your heart just skips a beat. And I didn't think too much of it, but these little clip springers, no bullshit, are 8 pounds. They're 20 inches tall. If they're 24, I'd be shocked. And they're like 4 inches wide. And this clip springer, world class, is facing me at 140 yards, if maybe 120 yards. And I'm on the sticks, and I ran a ways. My heart's going because it's world class. I hadn't done a lot of shooting on sticks because I hadn't actually, my Nyala, I freehand shot. A couple of the animals that I shot, I just freehand shot. So this clip springer was like animal number 2. So shooting off of sticks is different than just freehand shooting. And I wouldn't have freehand shot at 140 yards at this clip springer anyway because he was world class, right? So I'm at 120 yards, and I figure I'm solid, and I'm not. And whenever you're not solid, you kind of try to time the shot so the gun lays into it, you squeeze the trigger. And he's like, you missed. And I'm like, I fucking missed. He's 120 yards. I didn't miss. Rack another round, and I'm getting on it. And now I'm like, did I fucking miss? So now my head and my OCD is going. 120 yards that I missed is gone on, like Amanda missed earlier today. Squeeze another shot. He's like, and I missed again. And his voice is getting higher and higher and higher. And as the higher his voice gets, the more animated his body language gets, and the more he vibrates. Because unbeknownst to me, when he said world class, he meant like this is top 10 clip springer that's ever been shot in South Africa. This was the top 2 clip springer he had ever shot in his life as a PH with Bojval Jacobs, and Rianne had never seen. The other guys had never shot an animal this size in terms of clip springer size. So I shot twice, apparently missed twice. Shot a third time and missed a third time. So he fucks off to the right. I rack another round in the bullet, in the gun, and I've shot 3 times. Apparently missed 3 times. So he runs to the right, he runs to the left, he gets up on a rock, and he's broadside, so fire off another shot. And I know I smoked him on that shot. So he takes off to the right and kind of dives into the tree. So the PH is all excited. And he's like, oh, did you see the way it went into the tree? I know that you at least hit him somewhere on this one, right? So he's like, load again, and the fucking gun's empty, because who would shoot 4 rounds out of a 308 at an 8-pound animal and miss, right? So up comes the tracker with the dog, because we need a tracker and a dog for an 8-pound animal at 120 yards. I load up the gun again. And up we go, and we're probably 10 yards from where this thing dove into a tree. And Drian's like, oh shit, there it is. And he goes, and everybody, all the PHs carry a handgun on their hip for dispatching animals. So he was going to hand me the handgun, and the thing up and gone, fucks off. And he ran directly away from us and ran into some thick shit, and we didn't think too much about it. And Drian holsters the sidearm and takes off, and I grab and of course the 308's in my hand, and I take off, and Joshua the tracker's behind us, and we're 40 yards. Drian's 40 yards in front of me and the tracker, and I'm probably 20 yards in front of the tracker, and Joshua's yelling and screaming for me to come back, pointing, and I walk back to him, and I'm 5 yards from a tree, and he's pointing. He's like, there it is, shoot it, and I can't fucking see nothing. Eventually, a klipspringer materializes under this tree with what I think is 12-inch horns at 4 yards from me. And Drian is running, trying to grab the handgun, and it's just not coming to fruition. So I up with the 308 at 4 yards and shoot this klipspringer. So suffice to say, we shot him then and hit him for sure. On the necropsy of that animal, we did hit him 4 of 5 times. But that fucking thing would not die. Would not die. There was 2 vital hits on him. But we did shoot off a front leg and a back leg. Or should I say grazed a front leg and a back leg? You can edit that out. So that was when my PH learned that there's 2 words you do not say to me, and that's world class. Because I can do anything with a rifle in my mind, in my world, but when you say world class, then my balls just fucking drop, and that's it. I'm a girl, and I'm screaming, and I'm jumping, and yeah, shit just goes sideways. So anyway, that was a pretty fantastic hunt. But to get to One Eye, we have to go to the kudu. So we're at the same property that we hunted this klipspringer, and I spend 2 days and 30 kilometers of walking to hunt a kudu. And kudu and impala are that is Africa to me, outside of Cape Buffalo. And I had a very specific want for a kudu, and that was, I wanted turned out tips and ivories. And that just never fucking happened because it's hunting, right? And after 2 days and 30 kilometers of following some skinny little fucking African around in the bush, you decide that the reality is that if it's nice, you're going to shoot it because you just want it to end. I swear to God, I picked off about 1,500 ticks. But long story short, 2 days and 16 hours of kudu hunting and 30 kilometers of mountain climbing. Later, I have a kudu in my sights at 160 yards, and it's a beautiful bull. It's an old bull. And we packed the 375 on this particular hunt, and why I don't know, but I did. So I got him broadside, probably 160 yards on the sticks, and I'm comfortable on the sticks now because I've shot at a klipspringer enough times off the stick that I cannot shake anymore. And I shoot the kudu in the neck, and down he goes. He's done, and that was my second most epic shot. My Inyala shot was pretty epic. But we walk up to the kudu, and the one thing that they do there is that they just open up the sticks and they put the gun on the sticks. And you hang it off the sling, and then you go and you deal with your animals. We shot him at an area that we could drive to, so we did a bunch of video footage and some drone footage, and we had some fun with that. And we're looking at the kudu, and the fucking gun falls over. And we're not thinking too much about it. And we should have, in hindsight, but we didn't. And Drian's like, oh, no big deal. He says the gun was 2 inches off the ground on the butt. He said it was just the 375 is a heavy gun anyways. So we open the sticks up wider, put the gun back on the sticks, and we carry on with what we're doing, and we don't give it a second thought. So that finished day number 9. So day number 10, and my wife was not with me. It was just me and Drian then. We get back to the camp, and Amanda says, "Oh, I shot one eye." And I'm like, "What the fuck do you mean you shot one eye?" She goes, "Well, I shot him with the camera because we found him again." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So I proceed to harvest a plan, which was to get Rihanna as drunk as I could, and try to get the best deal I possibly could. Because the one thing about hunting in Africa is that you can shoot a lot of animals, but the tab rings up pretty quick. And if you don't watch what you're doing, you can spend a lot of money fast. And up to this time, we had a budget, and we stuck to our budget. Actually, we were under budget. And for me, that's pretty significant because I don't do anything under. I always try to exceed by 20%. That's my attitude is, in business, exceed expectations by 20%. And if I'm going to go to Africa and my budget is $20,000, I'm going to spend 25 before I even get concerned about money, right? So I did pretty good. I got Rianne drunk enough to agree to sell me one eye on a hunt from what we thought one eye was a $15,000 trophy fee, and he said that he would sell it to me at the same price that I bought my first buffalo with at the auction, but in U.S. funds. So he agreed to a $10,000 trophy fee for one eye. So I talked it over with Amanda. Well, it's just I told Amanda I was going to hunt one eye tomorrow. Actually, I told Amanda she was going to hunt one eye tomorrow, is what I did. So, and that's the nice thing about having a wife like Amanda. And I can say this is that if I could wish anything on anybody, is that you have a wife that just indulges you as a person. And my wife is probably the only woman I could have ever married that would actually survive as my wife. Because I am a difficult man to be married to, and I know that for a fact. Because to me, the only thing that has value is my wife and my kids. My business, money, you can work hard and you can make money. I've been very fortunate in business, and I've been very lucky in business that I just work hard. And if you work hard, you're going to be successful in anything that you do. And my wife has bought into that bullshit. So she believes that it's going to be okay. So I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning when I finally rolled into bed. 2 bottles of tequila down, and South Africans don't drink tequila, but we got those fucking guys drinking tequila now. And we have a deal on one eye. So I tell Amanda that basically we're going to get up in 2 hours and we're going to go hunt one eye. Now, I was not drunk, just to say. I kept my cool head with me so I could negotiate and get these guys drunk. So we get up in the morning and we're going to go hunt one eye. And the whole plan is for Amanda to hunt one eye. Now, up to date, one eye beat me 6 times. He beat me on stalks. He beat me on shot opportunities. He beat me 6 times. And we decided that this fucking buffalo was no longer called one eye. We called him 9 lives. Because the running joke was we're not going to kill him until there's been 9 opportunities on him, and we were at 6, so we had a lot of making up to do. And it was kind of a joke, but it proved to be fucking true. So we are out, and one eye upped the game. He decided that having 2 buffalo buddies with him wasn't good enough. One eye hooked up with 5 giraffes. Now, you may think, well, why would a buffalo hook up with 5 giraffes? Well, you take an old buffalo that's got some common sense between his ears, and you take giraffes, which it doesn't matter how stealthy you are. It doesn't matter how much camo you put on or how many ghillie suit layers you put on. You will never sneak up on a fucking giraffe. There is no way, shape, or hell any man is going to sneak up on a giraffe, and that giraffe doesn't know it's there. So One Eye decided that he hooked up with 2 cows, 2 calves, and a bull giraffe. And those giraffes are always on the lookout. A prey animal in South Africa, it doesn't matter, is always on the defensive. He's always looking, he's always trying to see, he's always aware of what's around him. And an animal that has a perspective at 25 feet in the Bompani trees and in some of these other trees, it doesn't much matter. That animal's going to see you. No matter what you think you're going to do, no matter how quiet you are, no matter how stealthy you are, that giraffe has you pegged before you even think you're getting close. And we proved this to be true, is that we actually got into an area where we were sitting there and we had sat there for some time, and the giraffes fed into our area, and we seen One Eye, and we got busted moving by the giraffes, and One Eye he fucked off. He was gone. So we knew that he was using the giraffes as a defensive mechanism, or an alarm or an alert, so that the giraffes, and he always kept the giraffes to his good side. He could always see at least one of the calves and one of the cows on his left side, which was his eyesight. So we knew that we had to not only defeat him, we had to defeat the giraffes, which then changed how we hunted him. Because now we didn't worry so much about him because he was using the giraffes. So we got to 80 yards of him, and he had no clue that we were there. And we always kept shit between us and the giraffes. Up goes the sticks. Amanda throws the 375 on the sticks. And he is feeding head down, looking straight at us. It's the perfect bow shot, but 80 yards, which is a fantastic rifle shot. And he lifts up his head because the wind was swirling a little bit, and he lifted up his head, and as soon as he lifted his head, Amanda dropped the hammer on the trigger. Boom, buffalo jumps, kicks, gone. Fucks off. He's out of there. So we just stopped, and we're thinking, well, did we just actually kill him? It looked like a great shot. I was recording everything that was going on, and we decided, fuck, just take a breath, like One Eye's going to die. And we walk up to where he was standing, and we take his track. And I will say this, those trackers in South Africa can track a flea across the Sahara Desert. Those guys are insanely good at what they do. So we start to track this buffalo, and 45 minutes later, we still haven't found blood. So something just didn't add up. And I will say that Amanda, when she got her chi, when she actually settled into it, she made some phenomenal shots. And Amanda, as a shooter, as a hunter, she's an exceptional shot. She has harvested elk at 1,000 yards, one shot. And her and I spend a lot of time shooting. My passion is guns. I like quality guns. I like quality optics. But Amanda is very much like me. We go and we shoot half MOA targets at 1,000 yards all the time. We're accurate. Usually when we are squeezing the trigger, what we're shooting is done. Unless it's a fucking clip springer at 120 yards, because that takes 5 shots to kill.
Or a buffalo, apparently.
Or a buffalo. So anyways, we can't find the blood. So we drop the sticks at where the track is, and we loop back to where we shot. And we start looking at everything. We stand where the buffalo was standing. We're looking for hair. We walk back to where the sticks hit the ground, and we can see where the sticks hit the ground because there's 4 of us there. And then Joshua walks the flight path of the bullet from where Amanda shot to where the buffalo was, and he's really looking at everything. And he fucking bends over and picks up a stick. And I have no fucking clue. Like, it was a stick, right? And he picks up the stick, he looks at the stick, and he's looking at the trees, and he fucking holds it up, and he's like, she shot the tree. And I'm like, there's no chance in hell Amanda shot a tree 8 feet above a buffalo, 10 feet from where she's or 10 yards from where she's standing. It just doesn't happen. So I'm like, let's go back to camp. It's 11:30. It's getting close to lunch. Let's go dump all the GoPro footage and let's dump the camera footage. And the GoPro footage I was shooting at 8K at 60 frames a second, for this reason that we could slow the shots rate down, right? So we pile in the truck and we're heading out, and lo and behold, there's fucking One Eye, 20 yards from the truck. I grab the gun and I swear to God, I'm racking around in this firearm as I'm jumping out of the truck. And to me, there was a bullet in the buffalo at this time, because there's no way my wife is going to miss at 80 yards. So I hit the ground, and Drianne's like, that's him. Boom. I take a shot. And immediately rack around, and he was turning, and as he was turning, I caught black in the scope, so I fired another round at him. And the adage is that a bullet in a buffalo is a good bullet. It doesn't matter. Once the first one's in the boiler room, any other bullet, it doesn't matter where it is, put a bullet into it. Keep shooting until it's dead, right? So I'm like, well, fuck, okay, we know he's dead. We know, like, I know I killed him. He's 20 yards away from me. I'm not going to fucking miss. We go to where he's standing, and he was in some thick shit, and we're walking through, and there's no fucking blood on the ground. And now I'm getting pissed off, because Amanda missed at 80, and how can you miss at 20 yards at a buffalo? That buffalo had a bullet at 80. It had 2 bullets at 20 yards. There's no fucking way we didn't hit that animal. There isn't blood after 20 minutes of searching. And I'm like, fuck. And I grabbed the gun, and I looked at the gun. Something that Amanda said to me that morning. She says, she's looking through the gun. She's like, oh, I need the scope is dirty. Can I have your rag to clean the scope? So I gave her my wipe to clean out the scope, and she's like, oh, I can see the front sight in the scope. And it clicked as soon as I looked at the gun, and she's like, how the fuck can you see the front sight of a gun through the scope? So how do you see the front sight of a gun through the scope? How do you see it? What do you think has to happen for you to see that front sight?
Yeah, obviously the...
Back up to kudu hunting. What happened when we were kudu hunting to that gun? That gun fell off the sticks, right?
Yeah.
So when that gun fell off the sticks, it actually bent the barrel of the scope 20 degrees down.
Oh.
So we bore-sighted that scope back at camp, and at 10 yards, that gun was 6 feet high. So we were, and none of us fucking knew it. Like, that, somebody with OCD, it should have just clicked, but a PH should have noticed it. Anybody that shoots, and this was the first, and I'd looked through that fucking rifle scope the day before and shot that kudu, and I'd shot that buffalo 5 days earlier through that same rifle scope, and I never seen the front sight of that gun, but it didn't click and register in my brain that she could see that front sight. And when I even threw that gun at that scope up that morning to look through it, I could see the scope, and it didn't fucking register in my brain. That barrel, the gun landed on the barrel of the scope, and it pushed the bell of the scope flat to the barrel. So that scope, from being flat, was like this. That's, if you look at the perspective of my hand, that's how that scope was. So every shot we took at that buffalo, 10 yards was 8 feet or 6 feet high. 20 yards, if you compound it, as you can imagine, we weren't even close to that fucking buffalo. So that was what we called 9 lives, because that was his 9th shot opportunity that we had at this buffalo. So we go back to camp. We didn't figure this all out. We grab Jacques 375, which was the Seiko with a loophole dangerous game scope on it. Have lunch, take it to the range, shoot it, and we're out and we're hunting again. And we decide, okay, well, what are we going to do? So Amanda's like, well, it's 3:30 in the afternoon. 4 o'clock, she says, you know what? She says, we have to check out this other area. And people get feelings on things. And my wife, she gets feelings. And I've always learned to trust her feelings. She came up to me one day, and I'll tell you why, is that we were in Cranbrook 20 years ago. And out of the blue, she says to me, you got a cougar tag? And I'm like, well, I always have a cougar tag in my pocket. Anybody that hunts buys a cougar tag. She goes, well, were they open? And I said, well, yeah, they're open. I said, but it doesn't fucking matter. I've hunted the Kootenays for 20 years. I've never seen a cougar here. She goes, we're going to see a cougar today. Lo and fucking behold, 3 hours later, I'm shooting a cougar that's charging at me at 60 yards. Never seen a cougar before. She tells me we're going to shoot a cougar, and I'm shooting a cougar that's charging me. So I've always learned to trust my wife's feelings. She's never had a feeling to buy a lottery ticket yet, but she has said, and she said to me, she says, we're going to take pictures of one eye tonight in a field with the sun setting behind us. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. And I'm thinking, you know what? We're going to kill him. We're going to get this guy. And she keeps saying to me and Drianne, she goes, we have to go to this area. And Drianne's like, that's not the area that we've seen him in. He's never been there. We're not going to get him there. She eventually, as like any woman that's persistent, you just get tired of the nagging and you decide, okay, we're just going to acquiesce what your request is, so you shut the fuck up, right? So lo and behold, we're going to go in this area, and we get stuck. So Dumpy's driving. We're stuck. Drianne's yelling at Dumpy not to spin the tires. He's pissed off. He's got to jump out. Out goes the winch. We have one tree. Thank God we have one tree that we can winch to. Hook up the winch. We're pulling ourselves out. We're making more racket than you could think that you would ever need to make while you're hunting. And Amanda just starts to fucking laugh. And I look at her, I'm like, what are you laughing about? She goes, there's a fucking buffalo right there, walking from right to left. And I'm like, shit. And we're yelling at Rianne to, like, there's a buffalo right there, and he's not paying much attention because he's driving and he's getting stuck and getting us out. So we get out, and we decide that had a lot of mud on the back end. And the easiest way to identify a buffalo is to identify a characteristic that's unique to its own. And this particular one eye had a lot of mud on its back end. So we were probably 80 to 90% sure that the buffalo that just walked in front of us as we're winching ourselves out of the mud was, in fact, one eye. So we drove up, we drove around a corner, and we bailed out of the truck, and we're going down the road, and there's the buffalo. It's 120 yards from us. We don't have shooting sticks. We don't have fucking anything. And this buffalo is standing there, and he's pissing side to side. And that is a big sign of agitation in a buffalo, is that as he's pissing, he's just waving side to side. He's not happy. And Drianne says that's him. And as soon as he said that's him, up goes the gun, and boom. Solid report back on a solid hit from the buffalo. And I said to him, he goes, oh, solid hit. And I said, yep. But it was back. And I know it was back because I shot him just like I would shoot an elk. And when you shoot, shit slows down. At least for me, when I shoot it, I can relive the shot like it happened. I can relive it now like it happened now. And I remember specifically walking that reticle up the front leg. And I have a tendency when my heart beats, I jerk left and down. And I waited till my heart beated and the reticle settled left and down, and I squeezed the shot. So it put the reticle off of the top of the leg, and it put it behind the front leg like I would shoot an elk here for a double lung shot. And that is a fantastic shot on an elk. It's not a good shot on a buffalo. It was a double lung shot, but that, as we're going to learn, that can take a lot to kill a buffalo. So up we go. We give him 5 minutes, and we walk up to where he was standing when he was shot, and there's fucking blood everywhere. And he's standing in the bush, and you can hear him. We couldn't see him. We could hear him. And he was just gurgling. You could hear the blood. You could hear the breathing. You could hear everything. Like, it was just gurgling out of him. And Drianne, moved to the right. And he's waving. He's trying to get my attention. And I come to the right, but Drianne is in front of me by about 5 yards. And we can see the buffalo. And the blood is just pouring out of this animal. But that put Drianne about 5 to 6 yards in front of me. And that is not a shot that's an ethical shot to take, because now you got a body in front of you. So there's me, the gun, Drianne, and then the buffalo. So I didn't have what I thought would be a clear shot. So I didn't want to take a shot. He's got his gun up, thinking that if the buffalo charges at him, because it can see him and I clearly, that he's going to take a shot. And he's telling me to take a shot, and I'm doing everything I can to not take a shot. So the buffalo didn't come at us. It turned and it fucked off. So we sent Amanda and the dog back to the truck, and me, Drianne, and Joshua ended up taking the trail of the buffalo. And we get up to where the buffalo is standing, and it's a bloodbath. There is blood everywhere. Drianne was telling me that, as the sight picture he had on the buffalo, it was bleeding very well. It was just pouring out of his nose and his mouth. We know it was lung blood. We could see that we could see everything looked solid. It was fantastic. So it was about 4:30, 4:45 at this particular point in time. And we decide to take the trail. So we take the trail, and off we go. We follow this buffalo, and that buffalo took us through some of the thickest shit I've ever hunted in my life, and that takes it to a different level. You're hunting an animal, this animal is vying to survive, and it was a good shot. If we had walked out and left it, that animal would have died. It would have died within an hour probably. But it's seen us, and the adrenaline got going, and now that animal is gone. I will say that I've hunted grizzly with a bow. I've shot grizzly with a bow. I've shot grizzly with a rifle. I've gone after grizzly that had been shot badly. And I was never more alive than I was hunting this buffalo, because you know nothing about these animals outside of the fact that they kill more hunters than any other animal in South Africa. So we put the stock on this buffalo, and we never see him. We hear him. We never see him for an hour and 20 minutes. And we're looping back, and this buffalo is now, he's coming back, and we've been put in a position where we felt as though he's charged at us, and he broke the charge off. And it's not a nice feeling when you're in 10 yards of visibility, and there's something crashing through the bushes that's coming at you that you can't see. So at about 6 o'clock, we come out to an area, and one of the other PHs is there. And we're having a discussion of basically what's the best way to proceed at this particular point in time. So we decide at that time there's two options. There's to leave the buffalo and just let him expire through the night, and we'll go and pick him up in the morning, which then you've got hyena, there's lions in the area, there's hyenas in the area, there's other predators in the area, and there's a lot of meat that's potentially going to get wasted. So we decided at that stage of the game that the most ethical thing to do would be to put the dogs on the buffalo at that stage. So I don't know if any of you guys have hunted behind dogs, but I'm sure that lots of people listening are going to have hunted behind dogs, and they're going to have the experiences of behind dogs. So the point and purpose of the dog is to bay the animal. So what it does is it takes the attention off of us traipsing through the bush, from the animal, and puts the attention on the dogs. So the animal's attention is now on the dogs, not on us trying to stalk up to it. So 5 minutes after we decide that we're going to put the dogs on it, they've got the blood trail, and they're off and running. And probably 5 minutes after they're off and running, they're chasing the animal, and then they've got it bayed. And to bay a buffalo, you basically, in this instance, we had three dogs. And they come in and they agitate the animal. So one dog works at the front, one dog works at the back. They keep the animal kind of spinning in circles. And what that does is it allows us to get close as hunters to come in and try to ethically finish that animal off. So it takes the danger away from it, which I didn't even think about at that time. And I don't even necessarily want to say that it takes the danger away from it, but it adds another level of hunting and experiences to what you're doing. So we get up, and the dogs have the buffalo bayed, and I just don't have a clear shot. So we're trying to maneuver to get a clear shot, and we're getting relatively close to this animal. And that buffalo's pissed off. So if that buffalo sees us, that buffalo's coming at us. So the opportunity or what the want is to get into a position to put a finishing shot on this animal where it can't see us, so everybody is safe, but not shoot the dogs at the same time, right? Because let's just face it, adrenaline's high and you're running. So we don't get an opportunity at that bay. The buffalo turns and takes off, and they're telling me just put something into it, put a round into it. So I throw up the gun and snake a shot through some trees, and I don't know if we hit it. I think I hit it. I was trying for a spine shot. I just went right in the middle of the animal, rack a shot with the rifle. It did lurch, so at least that was the sight picture. The 375 comes straight back into the pocket. So I was able to watch. The animal did lurch, but I don't know if it stepped in a hole. I'm not going to say I hit it. I'm not going to say I didn't. But it fucked off, and away it goes. And a couple of minutes later, probably 3 or 4 minutes later, the dogs have it bait again. So we got into a position that it was bait up in somewhat of an open area. And we got into a position that we could get the stick set up. We had a clear shot and shot it in the base of the neck, and down it went. And that was it. It was done. And that was the most emotional thing that I had felt, was that at number 10 is where that buffalo finally succumbed to my my fucked up bullshit on putting a bullet at this animal, and to say that it wasn't emotional would be a lie, because when we walked up to that animal and actually put our hands on that thing, that Drian just started to chuckle, and I looked at him and I'm like, what's so funny? He says he's almost standing where he was when you missed him with the bow. So full circle is that when he finally did die, is that he dropped within 50 yards of where he was standing when I missed him with my bow on day 2. So that's the story of One Eye. That animal, he fought with everything he possibly had, and it's not that one man outwitted him. It took a fucking team to outwit that animal. And I said that if I had to add how much time I put into hunting that one buffalo with a bow when I didn't succeed with it and had to switch to a rifle, I hunted that animal for 50 plus hours in a 2,500 acre fenced off compound. And I had one opportunity when the world was saying, okay, now it's time, because you miss him with a bow, you miss him with a stock, you get the wind, a fucking scope that's bent 20 degrees down, just so many things that just culminated to say, it ain't gonna happen. Like, that thing had to die. But when he finally did die, it was emotional. I've never cried at harvesting an animal, but I could feel myself like, is this really truly over? It was surreal to me at that time.
Had they hunted him before? Had they'd seen that bull before, or what?
I don't necessarily know that they had. I'm assuming that they're going to have hunted him. His one eye, he was blind, and I don't know if it was an injury. But his one eye actually is recessed into his head. It's half the size of his other eye is. It's stone black. And my mount is actually, I took a number of photos of his eyeball and said, this fucking buffalo has to come to me with his eye looking like this. So it's just going to have a black little marble stuck in his eye, and it's going to be completely recessed. That is how that buffalo is coming. It's my screensaver, a picture of his eye and his bosses on my phone. It's a special animal. And don't think that just because an animal has a defect, don't think that because it's blind in one eye, that it's an easy hunt. I killed a 2-eyed old bull buffalo with my bow, and it was nowhere near as difficult as a 1-eyed old buffalo that was with a rifle. I tell you that much.
So when are you going back?
Next year. I've already found Qatar Airways, $5,000 round trip for me and the family to go.
Really? Well, that's not bad.
Yeah. This one, I'm going back. I'm hoping to, but Rian he stepped up a lot. He's donated a lot of hunts to the Wild Sheep Society BC. He's actually since donating to us at the WS, the Wild Sheep Society of BC, he's now donating a lot of trips to the Wild Sheep Foundation. He bought his lifetime membership for the Montana Wild Sheep Society or Foundation. He actually won the Montana sheep draw for the wildlife members out of Montana for this 2023 year. So he's going to come back and he's going to hunt that sheep in Montana. He won that draw, and he's really stepping up the conservation side of things with and supporting the Wild Sheep Society of BC with what he's donating. So he's definitely a conservation partner that I'm proud of to say that as a friend. And I think he's done a lot of good things for the Wild Sheep Society of BC across the board. And he's there. It's a crew that it doesn't matter if you've talked to them for 3 years trying to set up a trip of a lifetime, or you just buy a trip at an auction and you decide I'm going to go and I'm going to hunt here. It doesn't matter. You're family. You step off that airplane, you're picked up, you're treated like family. They walk you to your gates. They stand there and wait for you until you basically say, look, you've wiped my ass for 14 days. Go home to your wife, because they don't see their family. They don't see their wives. When you are there, you are it. You are everything to them to ensure that you are happy. And that is service and it's conservation. And that is what I am passionate about.
Dude, that's epic, man. I'm you're harassing me to go. I want to go bad, but and the wife wants to go too. So I just got to save a few more shekels, I think, before I can put that together.
We'll definitely put something together. We'll talk. I'll sponsor.
Ren's, hashtag sponsored by Nolan. Rensmag, you coming or what? Are you going back or what's your plan there?
Is Nolan sponsoring? No, I'm not.
I will get an epic deal. I can tell you that much.
If finances work, I would go back in a heartbeat. I dream about that place every day since leaving. Absolutely unreal.
If I can say this, if I do make a deal with Rianne and everybody there, and I am actively looking for property to purchase there. So if I do purchase some property, there's going to be some pretty significant donations coming to the society. So we will make something happen. To all the voluntold, we'll do something. To all the execs, we'll do something. We will make any member of the WSSBC that wants to come hunt in South Africa feel like their family. They will get just as good a deal as anybody else will.
Awesome, man. That we've just like plowed through an hour and a half, and I feel like we just got our feet wet. I think we're gonna have to do this again though, because we're typically like that 1 hour mark. We've like broken a record here. So longest podcast in the history of Talk is Sheep. But yeah, what else? Okay, so let's just wrap this up. What do you got planned for the rest of the year? You going sheep hunting this fall, or what's your plan?
I am. If they answer the phone and book my plane, I'm going to be going sheep hunting. I wasn't lucky enough, like a couple of my buddies, to get doll draws because they got a Clydesdale up their ass. So yeah, I'm going to be. I have stones in late August. We have Jurassic Classic in early August. We have I got kootenays, I got elk, moose, and I'm trying to talk a couple of buddies up in the Yukon that are residents up there, and to maybe sponsor me for a moose up in the Yukon this year. We'll see how that goes. So definitely sheep, definitely caribou, definitely goat. Something will die by my hand on a mountain this year. I'm hoping to get kicked out of the less than one club. So we'll see. It's been a long time coming. I could have harvested a couple, but my attitude is I want that one. I don't need 10 stones on my wall. I just need one nice stone on my wall. And I'm happy with one. It's, you know what? If we're building the society as we want to build it, and we're building the conservation, we want to build our membership, and we want to support young hunters and new hunters. And, if you go out every year and you kill a stone, my attitude is take a newbie out and let them harvest a stone. I've been sheep hunting for 10 years. I could have killed a number of stone sheep, but it's not. I'm waiting for that one that says I'm it. I'm the one stone that I'm going to harvest. I only need one on my wall. Granted, they're good fucking eating, I hear, so maybe I'll get somebody from the society feed me a steak or a roast here or there, but I just need one on the wall. But you know what? If I can help the society put 50 on the mountain, then it's successful in my mind.
I feel like you've been doing that, buddy. So you've definitely put more on than you've taken off. I'll say that with confidence.
You call me a bad hunter or what?
Either that or a good conservationist, one of the two. But no, pretty awesome, dude. Inspiring, and just right there, that attitude about, you don't need to kill a sheep every year, right? We all know that it's legal, you can do it, but if we all killed sheep every year, they'll change the rules. So it's probably best we don't. I'm like you, man. I'm pretty picky when I go out there. I've been fortunate enough to get a stone sheep, and if that's all I ever get, I'm pretty happy with that. And if the sheep hunting gods bless me somewhere along the way, I'll take it too. But that's
exactly.
awesome. That's the right attitude, and that's certainly an attitude we need to create and cultivate in our community. I think like a lot of us believe that, but not everybody's doing it. And hey, it's legal; it's within their right. But we all know what happens if everyone was doing that. So. Well,
that's exactly right. And you know what? Who am I to judge somebody for doing what is legal, right? Ethics play a big part in how I hunt. My want is to take my daughter out, and my want on a mountain, or my son and my youngest daughter is that in 20 years I don't want to have to vie in a lottery to say, well, can we go for a stone sheep this year? Or can we do this? I want to be able to say to my daughter, like, hey, you're 18, let's jump in a plane and let's go hunt some sheep together. And I want to be able to say that to my son and to my youngest daughter. And it's about conservation. I am not the boots to the mountain kind of guy, and it's really unfortunate that I'm not, simply because time and time is my enemy. But what I'm lucky enough to be able to do is I'm lucky enough to be able to support initiatives that's put forth by people, and that's my conservation side of things, is to be able to support that end of things. So if that means that by not killing a stone this year and leaving it on the mountain so it can be a bigger stone 2 years or 3 years down the road, but when push comes to shove, a comment was made. You posted a picture about that cooler, about people thinking that money and brains and just pissing away money is that if you have the wherewithal to support something, find something that you're passionate about and support it 100%. And that's where I'm at, is that when it comes to the Wild Sheep Society of BC, is that I'm all in. It's not just a foundation, but it's a brotherhood. I'm stuck in Vancouver for business meetings, and I can phone Mike and I can phone Greg, and I say, hey, I'm stuck in Vancouver. You guys want to go for lunch or go for dinner? And Greg drives an hour and a half to come down and hang out for a couple hours and shoot the shit and talk. And Mike is the same thing. Is that it is a brotherhood of people that have the same like-minded conservation ethics that you do, and when you're in, and when they accept you, your family. And it feels good to be part of something that is selfless, because no matter what you do in life, there's a reward of some level. Everybody that's on fucking Instagram and they're on Facebook and they're videoing themselves giving somebody homeless $100 to do this and do that, they're getting gratitude out of it because they're getting self-recognition. That you can give to the society unanimously, unbeknownst to whom you are, and that is a selfless act, because I don't do anything for self-recognition. What I do because I'm passionate about it. And I was awarded something this year by the society, and I was fucking dumbfounded. Like, call a spade a spade. You look at the picture of me, and I look like
that was awesome, man. That was so awesome.
A deer in the headlights, and I didn't thank anybody. I didn't give a speech because I was speechless. Honest to God, I was speechless. And I could have ran off on a big diatribe, but what's the point and purpose? Is that it just would have been words. It was an honor to even be thought about being nominated for that award, and it meant so much to me to be awarded that award that it means a lot. So don't let my lack of a speech or my lack of words at that particular point in time go as it was just water off a duck's back. No, it's not. I'm still speechless when it comes to it. And I could probably go on for hours about how there's more deserving people than me. And because there's a lot more deserving people than me that could get that award. But for being honored with that award, I do thank the society for that immensely. So that's my thank you speech.
Dude, it was epic. I was up there, and so Corey, our president, was awarding it, and I was just watching you, and you're like busy, like you're just doing your thing at the table, and you're like, holy shit, you're like it's starting to click, right? You're like, oh, that sounds like something I may have done at some point, and like, and then all of a sudden it's just like you're like, fuck. Oh god, okay, that's me. He's talking about.
Yeah.
I was like, that was the highlight of the night for me. Was watching your reaction. It was hilarious, man.
Yeah, and it was, believe it or not, it was Chloe that smacked me because I was talking to Gray at the time, and not that I was being dismissive of what was going on behind me, because I'm very self-aware of what goes on around me. But Gray's a very engaging man, so when you're talking with Gray, you kind of give him your attention. And my daughter is beating on my arm, and she's like, "Dad, this sounds like you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "This sounds like you." And she looks at me, and then she just gets this ear-to-ear grin, and it clicked with her before it clicked with me, because as aware as I am, I'm a man. I'm relatively oblivious of different things, right? So, yeah, it was very honoring, very much so. Very much so.
Absolutely well deserved, man. Yeah, just phenomenal what you do to support, and and some of those people that are listening were probably at the show, and they probably got the whole speech. But the one thing about it is, like, this wasn't like, oh, let's just give the guy that donates the most an award. That wasn't it at all. Like, of course you donate a ton of stuff, but it's all the other stuff that you do. There's just, the list goes on and on. I won't spend too much time talking about it tonight, but it's you don't get awards or recognition just by writing a check. It's like time, treasure, and talent, and you do all three of those things. It's freaking awesome. So pretty
Well, it's appreciated.
pretty cool, man. Pretty
Very
cool.
much so. And you look at the guys that have won it, and to even be put in a class of somebody like Omer, that man is somebody that I just look up to with his time and with his generosity and with his donations. And if you could clone a man like Omer, and you could clone his heart, you could put it into 50 people that had the drive that you and the volunteers have in this. There's no failing this society. There's no failing this industry. There's no failing the sheep. Is that it's all about the sheep. No matter what, when it's all said and done, it's about sheep, and it's about conservation. And it doesn't matter if it's dollars and cents, and if a guy is lucky enough to make enough money to be able to support a foundation and an initiative that is passionate to him. It's not the dollars and cents. It's work smart, work hard. If you have to put boots to the mountain to help out, it doesn't matter what it is. Time is money, and money is time, and nothing is worth more than one another. The most important thing, and like I said, time is my enemy. Where it costs me and where it's invaluable is that it's time away from my kids, and it's time away from my family. And to me, that is invaluable in terms of monetary value. Is that my time with my children is priceless, and if I'm donating my time, that's a massive thing when it comes to the society, because I own a multitude of businesses. I mean, I'm extremely busy when it comes to my businesses, and the society is something that is as important to me as my businesses, and as important to me as my kids, because it's a family. I love spending time talking to Kyle and talking to Omer and talking to Greg, and going to Reno was a fucking highlight. It was a getaway. It was a blast. And people that want to get involved passionately with something. I look at Rebecca and Colin, and I look at how much they give of themselves, and it's such a selfless act of everything that they give. And Greg and all of these people that give so much, and really they don't get a lot, but they get the knowledge of conservation, and they see where their time is going, and that's the gratification they get out of it. And that is what I aspire to. That's what I want to be able to say, that I can give as much of my time like you guys do, because you guys are the true heroes. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. A guy can do what I do, and we can give what we give, but time is priceless. And you guys sacrifice so much, and for that I want to say thank you guys for what you do for the wild sheep. of British Columbia. Thank you for the time that you sacrifice from your families. Thank you for the time you sacrifice for your kids, because that is the true sacrifice. You guys are the ones that are putting your lives, your time, your efforts into this society and to make this successful. So for that, thank you guys for what you do. Honestly.
Right on, brother. Appreciate it. I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. And yeah, I'm with you. 3 things: time, treasure, and talent. And you can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3. It doesn't really matter. And some people have things they can offer. It might be time, that might be talent, might be cash. But we need all 3. All 3 is what makes conservation works. And if we take any one of those out, we're in trouble, right? So
Totally.
And we need them all. So awesome. And you're one of the guys that does all 3. So we appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
And there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of great things. And
there is.
But if you can do just one thing, that's a good start. So let's just start there: time, treasure, talent. So find what it is and get involved. So we can use you.
Awesome. That's true.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you muchly.
Have a good one.
Have a good night, guys.